Alright, what is up guys? VV back with another video. Excuse me. And today we're going to be going over my list that I used at a local tournament. And the list did really well for me. I started off the tournament 3-0. It was just a local, Friday night type of tournament, and lost in the finals, went 3-1, lost against a Katakuri deck. And this is the list right here on the screen. And I definitely want to talk about some changes I'm going to make right away. But the deck ran really well. My matchups were a little weird. I went against two Blurple Kaidos, and that was an uphill battle, I'll tell you what, because they had the red rocks to remove some of my bigger characters, like the Katakuri, we zoom in some, like the Katakuri, the Mihawks, and the Yamatos. They did have answers for that, like just very easily. And they were dropping nine cost Kaidos. So it was a struggle for sure. Those were very, very close games. Both of them were, and I think I must have gained from the leader's effect, and using the the Katakuri and the Yamato in particular. I must have gained 7 to 8 life, like in both of those games, and then the Mihawk bottom decking almost everything in their deck. That was nice. But anyway, so let me run through the list real quick. I made some slight modifications, I think, from the last time I showed the list. So let me back out some so it's easier to go over the list. Pretty much the same list as I already showed, but this was the actual list here. 4 Kaya, just a 2k counter, but I did use the cycle effect a few times. 4 Boa Hancock, 4 Charlotte Brule, 4 Hancock, 2 Brule, 2 Perona, 4 Gang Beige, 2 Amandi, 4 Doflamingo, 4 Sanji, 2 Katakuri, 4 Mihawks, 4 Yamatos, 2 of the Gum Rains. These were huge, I'm not going to lie to you. 4 of the Desert Spada, 2 3000 Worlds, 2 Sobbles. I was kind of trying both of them. I'm going to talk about that in a second. And then 4 of the Gum Red Rocks. So I'm just going to say right away things that I would like to change. I would like to go up at least 1 Gum Rain. And I think I want to go down 1 of the big characters here. Real fast, I would be running 4 Katakuris, but I only have 2. So, actually, I probably would just run 3. I would probably just run 3. Real quick fix for the deck, in my opinion, and I have seen this in other lists. 3000 Worlds versus Sobbles in this deck. Sobbles is just strictly better, I think. Because, yes, 3000 Worlds, let me zoom in so you guys can read it. 3000 Worlds does place the character at the bottom of the deck, whereas Sobbles just bounces it back to their hand. But that trigger to... Think of it like this. They both cost the same, but one bounces a 7 or less, and the other one bounces a 5 or less. Now, yes, like I said, the one that bounces a 7 only bounces it back to their hand, whereas the 5 bottom decks it. But here's where it gets really out of control. The trigger is activate this card's main effect on Sobbles. So the trigger is bouncing a 7 or less as well, whereas 3000 Worlds is only hitting a 3 or less. So right away, if I were to make some revisions to the deck, it would be -2 3000 Worlds, up 2 Sobbles, just right away. Just an instant fix in my personal opinion. Likewise, down 1 Desert Spada, up 1 Gum Rain, just right away, quick fix. Mihawk was good, but I think the combo to run is I go down 2 Mihawks and up 1 Katakuri. I'll just have to, invest and put down the money and buy another Katakuri. But I think 9 wouldn't be in the magic number here. 10 got a little clogged in my hand on 2 games. Now, so the matchups I had, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention the Smoker game. I went against a Blurple Kaido, and then I went against a Smoker, then I went against another Blurple Kaido, and then I went against Katakuri. And, I started off 3-0, like I said, and ended up being 3-1 in the final game, and couldn't quite take out the Katakuri. And it felt lopsided. The Katakuri leader just gets to look at all my triggers before they come in. They get 10 cost Big Mom. It's just, it is a rough matchup. That's guaranteed. That's for sure. Another quick fix I want to talk about. I'm sorry if this video is all over the place, guys. I want to get this video out. Or I want to get this video done as soon as possible so I can move on to other stuff. But I tried Charlotte Amandi because, okay, so logically, it was between Charlotte Amandi and Struisen. And in my mind, I was thinking, okay, they both trash a card, which is, you know, it does actually have potential in this deck. It does actually have like some kind of, you know, utility. But here's the problem. This is a 3 cost that does that. Yes, it hits a 2 or less, but the thing is, like, there was a game, I think it was actually against the Charlotte Lin, where if I just had Struisen, like, I think I had 5 cards in hand. If I could have Struisened and just, okay, you may trash 1 card with trigger from your hand, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 1 or less, I could have just played Struisen, trashed a trigger card from my hand to go down 2 cards to activate my leader's effect. And like, and I think I had 1 life, by the way. That's why I was saying, like, it's like I had 5 cards in hand and 1 card in life. So if I drop the Struisen on the board and then play his effect and choose up to up to 1 target and just fail to hit, then I'd have 4 life cards and I could have gained a life that turn. I think it might have potentially won me the game, kind of situation. But anyway, long story short, so this card goes in over Amandi. That was just a bad decision. The Struisen is just strictly better in my opinion. Not to mention, if you have to, you know, you could still play your 9 cost character and then play Struisen, or you could play your 8 cost Katakuri, still play Struisen, and still use your leader's effect. It was just better. So the same idea here with the trash for the trigger effect is the same reasoning behind going up the Gum Gum Rain. There was a game where it's like, okay, I think I had like, my hand was loaded. My hand was absolutely stacked with, like, I think it was a Katakuri, 2 Mihawks, and 2 Yamatos. And then I had a Desert Spada, where it's like, okay, if this Desert Spada was just a Gum Gum Rain, I could trash 2 cards from my hand at once and counter out of a 7k swing, which is better than the Desert Spada anyway. You know what I mean? Speaking of that, I am just going to go down another Desert Spada, and I'm going to go down another Searcher here in Doflamingo, I think. Yes, I still want the 2 Perona instead of going like 4-1, because the Perona has a lot of utility with Katakuri, where like you can go Katakuri, you know, or excuse me, go Perona, stack your top 5, play Katakuri to put Perona back on top of your life, and go from there. You know, it does have some actual synergy, whereas Doflamingo is a little better earlier on. And with the 3 cards that are, you know, to be put in, I'm actually really considering a card in Pound. Let me grab Pound real quick, because, like, how do I say this? The deck really... Let me grab Pound real quick. So here's where the deck is just really solid. You know, if I can keep bouncing cards to their life with cards like Pound or cards like Katakuri, that makes my Yamato that much stronger, right? Like, if they have like 6 cards in their life, okay, sure, I don't care. And if I have just 1 card in my life or 2 cards in my life, I'm hitting 7s or 8s, you know, with her effect, and potentially gaining a life depending on, you know, again, depending on how much life I have. I really do like that. And, you know, Pound is a 1k counter, which is fine. And otherwise, I will say this, I could just take, you know, 2 pounds out and go up a Brule, or maybe take down 1 pound and go up a Brule, maybe. I'll even do that for now, actually. I'll actually do that for now, just to get an extra trigger kind of deal. The Sanjis were insane. Let me. So Kaya was solid as is, but I think I'll even go down 1 to go up 1 Struisen, like kind of balance it. I don't know. That's probably being a little bit nitpicky, but that's fine. The Boa and Brule were huge. You know, they're just always there to have your back. Same with Sanji's just incredible in this deck, because you get to trash a card from your hand to play him from your life, which is huge. It's just absolutely massive. It sets up everything for you to, you know, keep drawing card, you know, getting card advantage while stacking your life and just dropping down these beaters every turn. Sanji is massive off the top of the deck. And that's one thing I wanted to mention, is I'm even considering going slightly more aggressive. Let me go down to the 4 cost real quick. And going up more of these 4 cost cards that trash a card to go into play, like Smoothie and Cracker. Because It's all about that trigger. Discard a card from your hand, play this card. Okay, I just trashed a card to play a 5K. You know what I mean? That also has the daunt, this potential ability here. And again, having this kind of effect really makes me want to try out Pound even more, right? And one, just harping off that same idea with Doflamingo and where is it? And Desert Spada and and Perona. Yeah, those are nice. Like, they're definitely very nice cards and nice effects in this deck, but they're really best late game. Like, you almost don't even want to play it early game. You just want to keep it till your mid to late game, so you can start setting up triggers for your, once you have your 8 or 9 cost down and you're using your leader's effect. And for those who don't know, I probably should have said this in the beginning. Queen's effect is this. Let me zoom in even again. We'll just make this card huge. There we go. Dawn ×1 when attacking. If the total number of cards in your life and hand is 4 or less, draw 1 card. Then, if you have a character with a cost of 8 or more, you may place up to 1 card from the top of your deck on top of your life instead of drawing 1 card. So you see what you're doing. If you establish an 8 or larger character on the field, and you have 4 or less cards in your hand and deck, hand and life combined. So if you have 2 in hand and 2 in life, or whatever combination of that equals 4 or less, well, now you're gaining life, and that's a big deal, right? So in other words, like there was a game against one of the Kaidos I played against, where all of a sudden, like, okay, they had me down to 0 life. One of the Kaidos, if not both of the Kaidos, it might have been both. No, I think it was just one of the Kaidos. He had me down to 0 life, like, on 2 different occasions throughout the game. I ended the game with 3 life, right? Like I had gained so much life from the leader's effect. I ended the game with almost as much life as I started with. Just really incredible. What else? Yeah, I think going forward, this is definitely more of the direction I think I want to take the deck. If not this, then even going a little more aggressive. So, like, and when I say a little more aggressive, in other words, what I'm saying is, like, maybe toss out the Desert Spadas, maybe toss out the probably toss out the Brûlés, and then go up those 4-cost 5K trigger, trash a card. Let me go down to them: Smoothie and Cracker, because that's going to allow me. Did I pass? No, it's up here. Like, first of all, the Cracker synergy with Charlotte Katakuri 8 cost and Pound is just great, right? It's making it where pushing a character to their life is not really a disadvantage. It's really just like, okay, yeah, I'm just getting a receipt, or taking a rain check. I'll pick it up later, right? And the Smoothie, not as much, I will say. Smoothie's still good, but okay. It's her when attacking that is not as good for us. So 4-cost 5K, 1K counter, trigger, discard 1 card from your hand, trash this, play this card. That all is perfect, but the when attacking is not ideal for what we're trying to do. The adding a card from the top or bottom of your life to your hand, and the character gains plus 2,000 power during this turn, that's not really what we want to do. We would rather trash a card more than anything. So the trigger is great. And then, I don't know, she's still a good card, right, for what it's worth. You can still play her as like a 4-cost 5K. Just like a vanilla that has this effect, with the potential later in the game to gain plus 2,000 from the one attacking if you have life left. But very solid. What else? Excuse me. I have considered a few other things as well, like some of these 2 and 1 cost events. One of them, I know some people are running the Plague rounds combo, where it's a 2-cost. You can bottom deck a 4 or less, but it requires the Ice Oni package or the Ice Demon package. I don't really want to get into that. I do think it's strong, and I think decks have topped. Like, I think there are lists that have. I can't even talk. I think there are lists that have topped tournaments running Plague rounds with Ice Oni or Ice Demon. But I really don't want to go that route. Not saying it's bad. I just prefer what's going on here. Thunderbolt's a serious consideration. But here's the thing. It's just not... Okay, these are the cons, and then I'll do the pros on it. The cons are for 2, you're KOing a 5 or less. Well, we already have a 4 that's bouncing a 7 or less, and has the trigger to bounce a 7 or less as well. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. But then you look at Thunderbolt. The thing that makes this card actually kind of decent for us is the fact that it trashes a card from our life. So, in other words, if we have, like, say we have 2 cards in life and 4 cards in hand, right? That's 6 cards, right? Well, if I pay 2 to Thunderbolt their character, trashing the top card of my life, well, now I go down to 1 card in life and 3 cards in hand. So now I can activate my leader's ability if I have a character in play that's 8 or more. Well, technically I can still use leader's effect, but if I wanted to actually gain a life, that I have to have a character in play that costs 8 or more. But you guys get what I'm saying. It has good pros, but the con is just like, okay, it's 2 cost, so you can't combo it with playing something that turn, right? Like you're not going to be able to play your Yamato and use this effect. It doesn't work like that. You can't. Now, technically, you can do Katakuri and do this effect if you want to, but I just don't see that as, really being that great. But that's just me. Not saying there's no potential there, but it does only hit a 5 or less. So that is, a little bit lackluster for what we're trying to do. Buzzcut Mochi is really decent, especially that trigger. Trigger is play up to 1 character with a cost 4 or less with trigger from your hand. So this would be a way to, like, cheat out your if we go the route of what's his name, Cracker and Smoothie, this card then becomes kind of decent because it is a 2 cost KO of 4 or less, which is really nice into, like, red decks and law. But ultimately I don't know, it's hard to find spots in the deck, right? The deck is already tight enough. Narukabura Arrow and Ikaku Sovereignty are definitely something I'm considering now, because that trigger, if I can stack this on top of my life, this trigger alone would have won me a game tonight. If I could have trashed 2 cards from my hand and gained the life, I could have gone down to like 3 cards in hand and 1 in life, and then lost that life that turn, countered out if I need to, whatever, and then got a card the next, drew a card for my turn, played a card out, and then used my leader's effect. But without this trigger effect, I probably couldn't. But I don't know. This might be too much. I think going up the extra Gum Rain, I think that's what, yeah, Gum Rain is probably good enough. Last one, of course, Narukabura Era. I do think this is worth going. It's definitely worth considering. It's not quite as good as Desert Spada for what we're trying to do, but man, that trash 2 cards from hand to gain a life, that's pretty good. that is pretty good, guys. But I don't know. It's kind of hard to justify. It's kind of hard to fit into the deck because it would probably more. I know it's the same exact 1 cost counter like Desert Spot is if it's the same category or the same spot. But I actually think it battles more with the Gum Rain spot. But I could be wrong about that. I'm not sure. But yeah, I think that's about it, guys. I don't have a lot more to say. What do you guys think of the list? What do you guys think of Queen? I'm going to tell you right now that this to me really feels like a control deck. I know, to each their own, right? Everyone has their own opinions, their own ideas, especially in the One Piece TCG. People's idea of control in this game is very different. It's not exactly traditional, right? Quote unquote, but it's a little different. It's more or less fighting for board control. But anyway, without going down that rabbit hole, I think this deck is definitely my style. This reminded me a lot of Black Yellow Charlotte Linlin. Not quite as good as Charlotte Linlin, in my personal opinion. But actually, well, no, excuse me. It was as good, if not better, than Black Yellow Charlotte Linlin, but I don't like it as much as Charlotte Linlin. I don't know why. I mean, you guys know I like the black cards, and now I'm starting to like yellow. So, of course, the Black Yellow deck I'm going to love like almost no matter what. And I love the attrition style. I love that. I love the attrition style of the deck, where it's like I'm going to fight. We're going to go late game. I'm going to try and get as much. I'm going to try and squeeze every single drop you know, every single ounce of value out of my deck and try to get you to blunder, and then I'm just going to outpace you in the late game and gain too much life for you to keep up. You know, that I really am a huge fan of that. So anyway, so this is what I have so far, guys. There are some other options I'm looking at, like I said, especially like going slightly more aggressive, because one more thing I wanted to say is notice how there's no 5 to 7 cost character. 5, 6, and 7, there are some really good options. Let me go to them real quick. Let me just like do it like this. Let me just go cost 5 to 7. And like, not so much Shirahoshi, believe it or not. This is actually the opposite of what we want because it draws 3 trashes too. That's netting us a card. We want to actually like sit around 3 cards. You know what I mean? Like draw 1 trash one would be fine, or draw 2 trash 2, but... And I think that's where a lot of people were running Sogi King. I noticed a lot of lists were running Sogi King because, okay, the card has good utility in the fact that it's a 7 cost 6k and 1k counter. Then on play, bounce a 6 or less to the owner's hand, draw 2 trash 2. So you are losing a card, right? Even though you're drawing 2 cards, you're actually trashing 2 and you played this card. So ultimately 3 cards went out of your hand, whereas only 2 came into your hand. And then you got the 6k body on the board. So I'm definitely considering putting this in. I don't know what I would take out. You know, that's where it gets really tricky, right? How do you balance all this? Maybe I go down like a Sobbles, since I'll be going up a Sogi King. Maybe that's the answer. Maybe I go down 2 Sobbles and go up to I think just 1 actually. Let me go back. Let me go up. So 3 Sobbles and 1 Sogi King might be the right answer there. And then I wonder if there's something I could take out somewhere else, right? We'll see. And I don't want to sit here and go through all the brainstorming with you guys. The video would take forever. It would get boring really fast. Well, all right, guys, that's where I'm going to leave it. One more thing. Of course, this is another really big consideration as well, because playing 7 costs 8k on curve is already good enough, even though it's 1k under the curve. But then the effect, like, are you going to let me gain life, or are we going to trash 1 of your lives? So this is another really big consideration, and probably not so much the Don Quixote de Flamingo, but it's not out of the question. Maybe even Olin. All right. And I'll brainstorm it later. You guys tell me what y'all think. You guys got any comments, any ideas, any kind of suggestions? Please leave it in the comment section below. As usual, I appreciate you guys. And until next time, peace.